Look at that.
All right, and for everyone that's tuning in live, this is the Impulse Drum and Bugle Corps watch party for the year 2001. It's the third year of Impulse's existence.
Popped up. Yeah.
We're
Somewhere.
joined together with
It's
quite a panel this time of fantastic
not.
individuals. We're going to have questions for each person as we set up for the show. Then we'll watch the show and have some questions afterwards. If you're tuning in for the first time, Impulse is currently running a t-shirt fundraiser. You can find it on our webpage or it'll be linked in the video below. We are also going to be taking donations on our website in order to help us navigate this COVID crisis. And we have a big educational announcement that's going to be happening on Monday. Impulse Youth Arts Organization is going to be launching a new program. So make sure you check out all of our social media, both on Instagram, on Facebook, and on our website for more about that. And for everyone that's joining today, the 2000 year or 1999, we're going to be hosting an after hours party. If you're interested in that, email secretary@impulseyoutarts.org. Or if you're someone that marched in these first 3 years, please make sure to send an email and let us know you'd like to be involved in that. So, without further ado, I'm going to be bringing in our wonderful panel here to introduce themselves, and then we'll get going with the questions. So I'm going to start. My name is Aaron Zeilinger. I'm the current Corps Director of Impulse Drum and Bugle Corps. I'm also the director at Orange Lutheran High School. And next will be Dan Zeilinger.
Oh, hi, I'm Dan Zeilinger. I've been with him. I was with Impulse from the very beginning up until '05, and I was mostly ranger and occasionally brass caption and occasionally tour manager. And I've known Mr. Charlie Groh for a very long time.
All right, next will be Omar.
Hey everybody, my name is Omar Vidana. I was a drum major from 2001 through 2003. I was the first drum major AJA for the Corps and the Corps' history, and I was Corps director in 2011, and then never doing that again ever. And and so I feel you, Aaron. And after that, I decided to stay on the board as a board member of the Impulse Youth Arts till now. And right currently, I am the director of band at Bellflower High School. I'm going on my 13th year there.
All right, next will be CJ.
Hey everybody, CJ here. I marched in 2001. I'm one of the unique ones that came from a different corps mid-season. So BDB to right directly to Impulse mid-season.
Great, next will be Chris.
I'm Chris Mathis. I played contra for Impulse from '99 to '02, and then in 2019 I became the audio engineer, and I'm volunteering with them still.
Next up, the legendary Charlie Groh.
Yeah, man, Dan, you're old. Yeah, I'm Charlie Groh, and I've done everything. So there it is. And right now I'm a fart in a whirlwind. Just doing my thing. Whatever it is, I'll do.
Next, Mike Nash.
I'm Mike Nash. Started with Impulse in year 2000 to help out on visual while I was still with Renegades. 2001, I helped out on tour, still on visual staff. 2002, 2003, I was corps manager. That was fun. And then left and went to SoCal Dream. I've been doing drum corps since '73. I met Charlie Groh in '76 out in Philadelphia at a rehearsal for another drum corps for DCI. And I came to Impulse. I was just seeing this guy doing his teaching, and it was Charlie. And I said, that looks familiar. So I walked up and asked him. He asked me where I marched, and I said, Osage. He goes, oh, I know somebody. And then been there ever since. And now I'm with Watchmen on the board of directors, did staff, whatever. That's what I do. I've been in so long. Tell me something, I'll do it. Okay, I'm done.
That'd be a fun game for people tuning in. If you are tuning in, and you should drop in the comments when you met Charlie and how.
Yeah.
All right, the next person to introduce themselves will be Jaime.
My name is Jaime Mejia. I marched SOP from 2000 to 2003. Haven't been really doing much with corps. I moved up here after I aged out. I actually live in the Bay Area. And I work in IT, have my little family, and I kind of try to keep up, through the web, seeing how the corps has been doing and whatnot. I actually did get to see a few of you guys, probably like 6-7 years back. I went to a show and I got to hang out with you guys. It was pretty fun. I actually live near CJ, but we've never really hung out. So probably live like maybe less than 10 miles from each other here in the Bay Area. But it's good to see everybody, and pretty excited to hear some stories and share some stories. That's it.
Next up will be Mike Freed.
Hi, I'm Mike Freed. I was on the visual staff for Impulse from 2000 to 2002. I toured in 2000, 2001. I didn't go on tour in 2002. I'm currently assistant director of the marching band at Thousand Oaks High School, and at the middle school that feeds into it, I teach middle school band and orchestra.
Next will be Derek.
Hello, Derek Venlett, marched in 2000, 2001. Played mellow, poorly. And work at Irvine High School. Been working at Irvine High School for 16 years in their instrumental music department.
Next will be Patrick.
Hi, my name's Patrick Moores. Most of you know me by my nickname that was given to me on my second day, Jack. I played baritone. I marched baritone.
Jack. Hi, Jack.
Yes. I marched baritone 2001 through 2003. Occasionally played baritone at the same time. I now work for a federal contractor and live in Northern Virginia.
And next up will be our special guest, Kyle.
I'm Kyle Ponterio, but y'all mostly know me as Gilligan. I marched half a season with Impulse. I joined after the tour with San Diego Alliance was over with, and I had a blast. I had so much fun. I did mostly character work in the pit, but I had so much fun. I met a lot of great people, and now I live in Orange County. I work for an auction house, and I'm lame and don't play much music.
And last will be Raphael, which will actually go into our first question. If you're just joining in, please keep in mind your comments on our comment section here are family friendly. If you wish to be a part of our uncensored Zoom call that won't be live, please make sure you contact us either at secretary@impulseyoutarts.org or core director at impulseyoutarts.org. Last up, Raphael.
Hi, I'm Rafael. I marched Impulse from 2001, 2005. I've been on the board since 2018. I marched Euphonium in 01 and Contra 02 to 05. So yeah, all right, so we'll get started. And the first question will be for Patrick, CJ, Omar, and Gilligan. So for Patrick, well, it's same question, but kind of different scenarios. So Omar, your question, and I'll ask a question to everybody before you guys answer. What brought you into Impulse? Patrick, for you, if I'm not mistaken, same question as Omar, what brought you to Impulse? Especially if I remember correctly, you came from the Philippines, right? And for
yeah, it was kind of a different situation. I was living overseas during high school. My dad was in the Army, so we were stationed overseas. So I'm desperately wanting to join any drum corps that will take me. I can't, I know a lot of people who are the Blue Devils or the Santa Clara Vanguard, they do this now where they fly over, to go to like audition camps and January camps. That wasn't an option for me. So I'm just on the phone and, hey, I'm going to show up on Memorial Day. Will you take me? And everybody else was no. But Impulse said, yeah, come on down. We'll get a spot for you. And then I remember my first day was Memorial Day camp, 2001. First person I met was Yosuke. He said, I didn't think you'd show up. And, you guys had me. You guys said yes. I showed up, and you guys were willing to accept me. So that was why I came to Impulse. Not a super sexy answer of, I love the mission and the music. And, you know, I've never seen Impulse before, but everybody else said no. I get on the phone with you guys, you know, with Impulse, and, you know, they said yes. So up there.
Omar?
Well, actually, I was attending Cerritos College, and in the jazz band, there was Mr. Dave Mead playing trombone, and Chuck Drinkworth playing trombone in the jazz band at Cerritos College. And I was playing, and I don't know, I just overheard them saying, you know, talking about drum corps, and I knew what drum corps was, although I came from a parade band. And I just started talking to them, and I told them about my, you know, leadership, my leadership history. And they're like, well, you know, we are looking, you know, for we have somebody in the drum major spot, but we're looking for two. So why don't you come on and try? So they got me the music. They got me, actually, it was Dan's music, the intro for Gilligan's Island, and stuff, which was played by Derek, if I remember correctly, the little solo in the beginning. And it was music and stuff like that, and Dave Meany said, study it. Like, so I did. And then I showed up, and I didn't know what I was doing half the time at the beginning, and I don't know how I got in there, and, you know, I just didn't give up. You know, I showed up at every practice, and whether I had something to do or not, I was there, and, you know, I got the spot, and I never left until I was forced out, which age out. So that was that was my story.
All right, so CJ and Gilligan, Kyle, same question, but you guys were in a unique situation where you guys were in different corps. Finish your season with those two corps and jumped in with us to go on tour. What got you guys to go, you know what, as soon as I'm done with the season, I'm going to go with Impulse, I'm going to go on a full tour? Like, what motivated you guys to, like, keep on going, learn a whole show from scratch?
Well, should I go? Me? Oh, go ahead.
Well, when the season ended for me, I just wasn't done. I still had a month and a half left of summer. I wasn't done with marching yet, and I really, really loved marching. And, you know, there was a spot open in Impulse for doing some character work and doing, you know, some work in the pit. And, you know, you guys, Impulse, you know, welcomed me with open arms, and it was, I wouldn't have given it up for anything. I would do it all over again if the opportunity presented itself. And I had so much fun with that show. It was such a fun show.
CJ?
So.
Yeah, same thing. I was not done with my season at all. And I knew that was my last year marching DCI ever, just because I was leaving for the Marine Corps right after the season was over. So I was like, I got to jump with this group. And plus, I think talking to a lot of members, like especially Ski from 2000 all day 2001 during the shows, helped me out to get a feel of Impulse. And I just loved it. I love how loose it was compared to, I came from BDB, early BDB 2000s. And our most visual was a 3-point turn facing backfield and angles up. And that was the joy that we got from marching, and be able to be free. What I saw you guys do, I want to be part of that and have fun. And that's what I did.
All right, CJ, I have one more question before we move on to Aaron's question. You sort of touched that, you know, there was a spot for a character and you jumped in and played a character. What were your thoughts when they told you, hey, you're going to, you know, Gilligan from Gilligan's Island? You're going to play Gilligan. What were your thoughts?
I think that's.
I thought it was great. I've got a warped sense of humor, so I find humor in a lot of things that people just shouldn't. And it fit quite nicely. And it, like I said, it was a lot of fun. I had so much fun. And when I was a kid, I watched lots of Gilligan's Island. So I was very familiar with how goofy he was. You know, just the shenanigans that they went through and did, and it fit. It felt right, and I really enjoyed it.
All right. So, speaking of the craziness of the season, this next question, we're getting ahead of ourselves. This one goes to Derek and Mike Freed. 2001 was by far Impulse's most penalized season in its 20-year history.
Yep.
From kicking the yard markers to playing in the end zone. What can both of you remember from those penalties, and maybe some stories about those times? Let's start with Mike, and then we'll do Derek.
You know, I don't know, with what I was doing with the visual staff, I was kind of trying to ignore a lot of those. You know, I know that we had, you know, at the early shows, just setting up, you know, getting a big giant volcano on the field for the first couple times and dealing with that. And I don't really remember a lot of the specific penalties. I actually was going and trying to look up scores the other day to see, all right, what did we get penalized for? And I couldn't really find recaps. I found total final scores, which was kind of an interesting thing in itself from a lot of the shows. But, you know, for me, it was always trying to, like, focus, you know, have fun, but make sure that we're trying to put a good product on the field. And I think sometimes the antics were like, okay, well, you know, maybe what is kicking the yard line markers going to do for us and whatever. And, you know, but I don't really remember a lot of specifics about that. Derek, maybe you can remember better because you were probably the one doing it.
Probably along with another core group of folks for sure. It was like nobody really told us what the rules were. and I didn't know, and I don't know if I would have cared either. I bet if someone would have been like, hey, you know what, we can't play in the end zone, because I don't know, Brandon or I or Raul or Ski or somebody came up with that little tag that we put on in the end zone. And if someone had told us, hey, don't do that, we might have listened. But a lot of it was like, we just didn't know. So we just did whatever the heck we wanted.
I remember you guys laying the judge. And I remember that we had a number of issues from
They
years
were
before.
right there. I had a lay in my, I think it was me. Was it me?
I think it was you.
I had a lay in my hand, and the judge was in front of me and looked at me, and we met eyes. And the guy looked at me, and I was just like, this is happening. Just went on ahead. Either I said it or Rich Perez said it, who was right beside me, like, you have to do that right now. And I went, okay.
That's the same judge that got knocked out by a certain contra player a couple of years back.
Ooh, well, unfortunate.
No.
Yeah. And I think just like anything, you know, that we did, some of the judges were totally buying in, and some of them were laughing, and some of them weren't.
Welcome to VK.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them hated it. They hated it.
Yeah.
You can see it in their eyes.
Well,
Do you guys remember how pissed off they got when we played Kyle's Mom is a, you know, the ending to the show, and then you guys took, if you listen to those judges tapes, they were pissed off.
I still wish that somebody could do that as a show. Just do that whole South Park musical. There's so much good music in there.
All right, our next question goes to Omar Gilligan Kyle, and we're gonna have another guest, Rich Henshaw, but he couldn't make it. He had technical difficulties, but he did submit his answer. So Aaron or Chris, if you guys mind answering what he said. But how much of the story of the show can you remember and explain? Because there was a story, you know, the story with the whole volcano, the ball, and a certain Indian chief.
That dang ball, man. I should have kept it.
Were you the one that tossed it up in the air at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
want you on that, man. That had to be right.
I do not remember the storyline at all. I don't. I wish I could. I don't.
Kyle,
does anybody?
Yeah.
You know, I got there, you know, I joined halfway through the season, so I missed a whole lot in the early part. The one thing I remember, and we're probably going to discuss this a little bit later, but just hauling around the field. And then, yeah, that's about the only thing I really remember. That and being chased by a giant windfish.
I've actually had the the pleasure of describing this show many times because I've been doing nothing but marching band for the past 20 years. And since I have the tattoo on my arm, some kid ends up seeing it at some point and they ask about the core. And 2001 is my favorite one to show because it doesn't make sense unless you have cliff notes. So the the way I remember it, and after watching it over and over again, and someone can correct me, but this is what I remember of the show. We are all on an island. We are welcome onto the island by the Gilligan's Island theme. We announce the island by playing that war song. Then, after the war song, and during the war song, the Guardian Beach Ball Wilson is put on top of a pedestal. That's our sacred symbol. We were praying to it in the beginning, and then we gesture to it again afterwards. And there's a great shot at the beginning of the video of Luke trying to get the camera to look at the volcano, and he keeps pointing.
Oh, that's right. Didn't I bring it to the altar, right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
and then we turn around and we do this like jazz run thing. So after the opener, we then have a second tune where Gilligan is fishing because he needs to survive. I guess he crash landed on the island, but we never introduced that concept. We just now have Gilligan and he's fishing. And there's giant color guard fish while we play Tiny Bubbles. And he tries to catch a fish, but he ends up catching a snare player. And that doesn't read too well in the video, but I distinctly remember that because we snuck a camera onto the field to take a picture of it. And then during that sequence, the beach ball gets taken from the pedestal or knocked off the pedestal, if I remember right. We all panic because the volcano's erupting, which leads us into our second drum solo because there's one in the opener.
Who's in charge of these meetings? Who okayed all these ideas? Someone speak to that right now.
He had some great stuff.
This is all news to me. I never heard this.
Thank you. All new.
Yep, the beach ball gets put back. We are saved, and then we celebrate by playing our closer, and then we end it with "I really mean it." So,
didn't Gilligan steal the beach ball?
Yeah,
well, he steals
and then you fell in the middle of the field, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
That was me around the core.
I was chasing you.
Yep.
That was the best ball ever.
It was.
I did it every time. Every time at rehearsal, I fell, and because most people were, paying attention to what they're doing and not paying attention to me, most people didn't realize that that's what I was doing. But every time we ran that, I ran and I tried to make a safe ball as best as I could. Most of the time, I did that. Sometimes not so much.
I actually thought you fell on purpose during finals in the South video. I'm like, he fell.
No, he was really.
Oh yeah,
good.
that was on purpose.
No, but
that
he was really good at it.
I thought it was actually tripped on something.
Yeah, no, I just made it happen.
Take one for the team.
Yep.
Next question is for Charlie, Mike Nash, and Mike Freed. How did the show get built or come together, especially from a visual perspective?
Robert Whitaker wrote the show, and Robert Whitaker, the artist, and of course he and I were at war almost all the time because he was an artist and I wanted to make things clean. So there was a big divide there, but I got over it. Mike had a great time with his buddy.
Oh, Jared.
Oh, Jared.
Jared.
The guy who won that.
Is he the special guest? Oh my God, is he the special guest?
Yeah, right. He would make time for us.
Distract him again.
Jared.
Oh, I remember Jared.
Doing the Jared. Come on.
Oh, especially in visual block, he kept on messing up with the left or starting with the right.
Right.
We would always have to reset because he would start on the right.
Spray painting your shoes too.
I remember the first time
He didn't get paid, right?
Did circle drill with you guys at like a cadet's 200 beats a minute.
Yeah.
And people were like falling over because they couldn't do it.
On the concrete, no? Didn't we do it on the parking lot?
Yep.
The concrete
Yeah.
in the back?
On the back parking lot.
And he's like, all right, here we go, guys. And everyone's like, wait, what? I wasn't part of a lot of the design meetings. I know that, throwing a lot of things in later. I remember I was talking before about how we made a design change. I think it was Tiny Bubbles that we shortened. and we were somewhere, and we were like, okay, we need to shorten this tune, and we couldn't figure out how to make a good cut. And I can't remember if it was you and me, Charlie, that went to the Kinko's and had to photocopy drill paper. We had to buy a thing of whiteout. And whiteout, we didn't have drill paper. We didn't have Pieware on a computer. We had to white out the dots
That's right.
on a piece of drill paper, draw in the missing lines, photocopy it, and make a bunch of drill paper so we could write the changes.
Yep.
That was good times.
Oh wow.
If I could interject, Tiny Bubbles wouldn't even have been in the show if it wasn't for Corky Keys arguing with me. Because, of course, the main part of that song was the Hawaiian wedding song.
Right.
And the only reason that it was in there is because Corky kept insisting that she'd never heard of the song before. She wanted something that was recognizably Hawaiian.
Oh, yeah.
Very persuasive.
I played that. So I played Tiny Bubble. So I wrote Tiny Bubbles in the intro to that just to appease Corky.
Just so you guys know, this show is the one show that made me hate props from here on out. Having to put that 30-foot by 50-foot volcano, those backdrops. Oh my God, the tiki mask.
Hey, do you guys remember chasing? Do you remember chasing the volcano around the Pacific track?
Across the field. The things are
with the wind.
Yep. That was the first show. Remember in San Diego, Mike?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was me, him, and I think Moose was on the back. 3 grown men, and that thing was a big sail because we had. Oh man, and we were coming out on the field and going. We had to make outriggers and stuff. Belsky and I built that thing in his parking lot, and then we rigged a way to have it on top of the truck. And my visions sometimes turn into disasters, and that thing was a disaster. Excuse my French, but it was fun, and we made it work.
We the stop line had to load that thing all the time on top of the brick. There was a few times where it was kind of sketchy up there when we almost fell. You know, like a daily thing, putting it, folding it, putting it up there, and it was fun.
That's why we had extra stops on tour, just in case.
There you go.
That's why we had so many leads. It makes sense now.
Aren't all Sopranos extras? I mean, really?
Don't need 5 leads.
Oh, wow.
Don't move on. Wait, because there's something about that thing, that big prop that you guys probably don't know about, but the entrance to Rich Stadium is a tunnel, if you guys remember. So I walked in there, just to check it out, as I usually do, to check out the venue. So I walk in there and I looked at the end of the tunnel. The tunnel was fine, as far as being able to fit that thing. But at the very end, it went and got smaller, and I went, oh. And I went down there and took a measuring tape out and went, oh, we're in deep, deep trouble. So we could get it through, but we could only get it through by cocking it sideways and hitting it through on the diagonal. So you guys are all nice and happy kids. I'm going to march now on the show. And Mike, you might have been with me, both Mike Nash and Mike Freed. You guys might have been with me trying to get in the stadium. But let me tell you guys, this was an act of God, because we got to that tunnel end, we got the thing there, and then there's this official from DCI down at the end saying, well, you can't bring it out here. And I'm going, man, we better get that thing out there or our kids aren't going to go on. And I almost went into fisticuffs with the dude. In fact, I did get my way, and we did get it through there, but it was, I wanted to take a welding torch to it right then. But
moving on.
All right, the next question is actually, I know from the times that I've spoken to people that have marched 2001, there's a lot of fond memories when it comes to Green River, Utah. And I'm sure we could probably spend an hour and a half talking about Green River, Utah. But I'm going to really point this one for one member so that way we can keep going and maybe we can share more stories at our after party. But Jaime, what do you remember about us arriving and everything that happened in Green River, Utah?
Man, Green River, Utah is such a special spot because I think we stopped there more than once in 2 different seasons, or maybe 3 seasons.
2002.
Two seasons. And I remember there's so many stories. It's kind of hard, so I'll just kind of run down through them. I remember seeing some hardcore graffiti that everybody took a picture of. I think it was in the middle of the place. Somebody had like graffitied "I love you," and like everybody in the core was up there like taking like gangsters and taking pictures. I remember they threw a hold down for us, which was really, really cool. Or I don't know if it was for us or it just happened to be when we were there and they had us over. I remember, you know, the whole staff and Charlie and all of them setting up a field for us in a baseball field so we can march. And I think most memorably, I remember taking a shower, or everybody taking a shower with a water hose in front of the mayor's house.
Isn't the mayor's house or something? Yeah, right?
Yes, but that spot was, I think, sleeping in the park too. It was definitely, you know, I think by other course standards, they would think it was roughing it, but I honestly think that all those memories and us roughing it and staying in parks were things that we were lucky to experience because there were things that we actually did remember to this day.
Well, that was by design, you guys. I mean, I kind of lined the tour out, not kind of, I did. And that wasn't a dart thrown up against the board to figure out, you know, oh, we'll stop there. No, we'll stop there because that's right in the middle of our first real big leg, see? And it was a big deal to get some rest for the drivers and all that stuff, see? So we had a little hotel there and everything worked out great, except what are we going to do with kids? This is a major topic. What are we going to do with kids? I said, man, we'll get them out of the bus, lay down, get up, let's perform, whatever. And you know me, man, let's just go. So we went, and that was it. And the mayor gave me the key to the town. Aaron, did he give you a key?
I have heard rumors. I've heard rumors that the key is at the Baba's house, but I have not seen it since 2002.
All right, moving on. We have a question for CJ and Mike Freed. How is it like to perform in Canada?
All right, Canada. So for my experience, it just felt like we were on tour. I did not know actually what city we're in, or anything. But I remember crossing the border and just sleeping and seeing how boring it was until we got to our destination. It was like flat roads and houses, flat roads, houses. Oh, a skating rink, another one, over and over again until we got to our destination. And that's all I remember. It was just another place.
Didn't we stay at a skating ring or something like that? Or took a shower there or something like that?
We did. We stayed in it was a skating rink with no ice in it. And I remember some of us were trying to find outlets out there.
Yeah, and we practiced there, correct? But as a field, because I don't know what happened with Luke and I, we misplaced, or we didn't have the spray cans, and well, Charlie had his way with us, and we weren't his best friends, and we got left.
Second time for Luke. So
yeah, well, it was Luke because he was the main guy, and so we used tape. What is it?
Painter tape or
blue tape.
Yeah, I know. I had one job. My job was to keep Luke in line, and I just couldn't. I mean, but we used tape. I don't know what kind of tape, but we used tape for yard lines, and so there we go. Me and Luke lining the field with tape.
Oh, I remember that now.
Man.
Remember that?
I remember that.
I remember Charlie from the hill. It was like this, and he was far away, and he just, he told us what he thought about us from all the way back.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Canada is it's not that much different. Like when you go from Michigan, I can't remember where we crossed the border. But it's really not that much different than being in like Michigan or some part of the northern U.S. I always felt like when I went to the South, that was where it was really different. Canada's just like, I don't know, it's kind of the same. I mean, the fields, you got to remember there's the center yard line, which is the 55, and then there's a 50 on each side. So it's the wider field, and the hashes and the back sideline are different. But other than that, it's just they say A and they eat a lot of Cheese Whiz and Tim Hortons donuts.
Yeah, but you knew that better. I remember counting on you to, Mike, how does that work up there, man? Because you were there. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. What was weird, not weird, what was cool about 2001 was that was when Corky came on staff with Impulse. But I taught with Corky in 98 at Kiwanis Cavaliers in Ontario, Canada. That's where the first time I met her was there. And I remember when she showed up at Impulse, I was just like, I didn't even know she'd been from, connected with Impulse at all. And she showed up. I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? Because we had literally taught together up there. But yeah, I mean, it's not that big a difference. And when I performed in Canada, when I marched there, over half the members were from the U.S. So it is what it is.
You got a lot of Florida guys, didn't you?
Not when I was marching. That was later, afterwards, when they merged with Tampa Bay Thunder or something like that.
All right, Aaron, next one.
All right, the next question is another one of those staple memories of this tour, and I'm going to direct it specifically at Chris. Tell us about our housing time with the Juliet Kingsmen and their impact on specifically our season.
Those are cool little guys.
That was great.
If I remember correctly, the Joliet Kingsmen were like, you talk about a town built around a prison. And I remember that their horn instructor was the corps director. Their drum instructor was the corps director. Their color guard was the corps director. I think the corps director just was the only person on their entire staff. He wrote the whole show. And this is, you talk about some people who really just didn't get a lot of love from anybody.
He was an amazing guy.
Yeah, we came in, we housed them, I think, in DeKalb. And it was the first time that we were housing with them, and we were the big boys comparatively. It was like the times before when we would house with like Vanguard, and Vanguard would take care of Impulse. Impulse saw this other group, and we took care of them immediately. We actually sat down and played our shows with each other. So they were impressed because it's the first time they saw a show that they got to like really honestly enjoy. And man, they loved us. I know that they asked for autographs from our drum line. I think they stole the top bass drummer's T-shirt, taking it as a souvenir. I think our drum line came over and helped them learn, teach them a cadence. And I remember that they performed at the next show, and they were supposed to go on right before Impulse. So they did, and then they all stopped and moved onto the track so they didn't have to leave. They wanted to watch the Impulse show. I know that we ended up doing a lot of really good with them because they really didn't have much. In 2004, after I had aged out, I was with the Renegades, and we did a show in DeKalb, and there was a guy who was next to me because we were doing the whole multi-horn line, and it was a person from the Joliet Kingsmen. And I started talking to him like, yeah, before this I was an Impulse. And he was scared. He just lit up. He's like, Impulse is my favorite corps. I am only marching now still because of how much Impulse influenced our entire lives back then. Now, it was cool to see our entire corps give back to, another group in a lot of need, and it stayed with them like forever. It was actually I started talking with him, and I found out he was actually the contra player for the Kingsmen in 2001, and he only got the gig because he was the tallest, and he had a piston rotor, and he didn't know how to play a piston rotor. So I remember sitting down with him, teaching him how to play, with an instrument like this, when the rest of everyone else was just kind of, on a different, easier to play instrument. So I think it changed a lot of us because it was like the first time that we already felt that we were kind of important and kind of rock stars in our own vein. But this is the first time we actually had like our own fan club. And not only that, but the amount that we were able to give back to them, teach them how to be better musicians. And from what I understand, we influenced their next couple shows a lot from there. So I think the combination of Impulse and Kingsman, the Joliet Kingsman, was huge for us, for a lot of people. So, anyone else have any memories of the Kingsman, or do we want to roll on from there?
Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, we had we could see it from our aspect of the people running the tour, and staff wise, you guys were really doing the job with them, and we were too. Their director was a solid dude, and man, anybody like that, man, that's heartfelt stuff.
Yeah. All right, next question. I got a question for Patrick and Derek. How was it like to take Impulse to nationals in Buffalo?
I mean, I was a rookie, so that's all I ever knew was that it's I think a really unique setup with the Division 2-3 circuit having a whole bunch of California shows. You go up and down the coast a couple times, and then you go out for the big tour. That's all I ever knew. It was so exciting. going across the country, our first big show in DeKalb was huge for all of us. I thought, playing in this, relatively large stadium, field turf, practice time inside the stadium was really cool. It was going all over, going to, Grand Haven, Ontario, all that stuff, and going to the little sleepy town of, I think, Dunkirk, New York. So it was really cool to visit all those sites. And again, I was just taking it all in because, this is my first year. It was just a whirlwind, and we saw lots of cool stuff, lots of on the bus. And again, a shout out to my bus partner, Kyle. Maybe he'll be on a future episode. Because, you got to have a good bus mate to survive on the bus. So, yeah, it was just a whirlwind and a really great experience for my first year. I think it really set the bar high.
Derek?
That felt like my first year really too. I said in the 2000 meeting that I was kind of in and out. I was there on the tour, but I was in and out for so much of the rehearsal. This year I was there for everything. And it was super fun and forged all these relationships and friendships over the years. But what I remember is Raul and your eyes just getting really big when you were going out to the field in Buffalo. What do you remember, Raul?
It was kind of manifest destiny in a way for the Corps. This was our first time going to finals at all. So, it was the furthest we'd ever gone. And to see that kind of culminate all the way across the country in New York in the furthest corner we'd ever been was just amazing.
Well, thank
Remember
you all.
Micro Magic waking us up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they played Brass Machine.
Oh,
yeah.
All I remember is being in the gym, lights turned on, and you just hear Mike's voice going, "Good morning, Impulse," every single morning.
Except I didn't go on that tour to Buffalo. I stayed home. I didn't go on tour till the following season.
I also have a couple memories of Mike Nash with a trash can as well. It was a metal trash can with a wake up. Anyways, if you're just tuning in, this is the Impulse Drum and Bugle Corps Watch Party for the year 2001. All of the panelists on here were involved in some way or another that year. We've been answering questions and reminiscing. If you're just tuning in, we are running a t-shirt campaign as well as accepting donations. You can find those attached to this post, or you can check out our website at impulseyoutharts.org. If you have any memories to share, or like I said earlier, if you've got some memories to share about your first time encountering the legend Charlie Groh, you can email those to secretary@impulseyoutharts.org or at corps-director@impulseyoutharts.org. We're about to watch the show right now, and then afterwards we've got a couple more questions. So we hope all of you enjoy. Real quick, we weren't able to be joined by Rich Henshaw, who was our percussion caption that year, and he just wanted to mention to everyone that our drumline that year was one of the largest in DCI. Not just open
class. It was an amazing drumline.
It was huge. And he said the numbers were 10 snares, 6 quads, 5 basses, and 4 cymbals.
Yep.
And he distinctly remembered how much fun he had with that group of kids and how much talent there was. So without further ado, here's Impulse Drum and Bugle Corps' 2001 show, Island Extravaganza.
Presenting their production of a South Pacific extravaganza from Costa Mesa, California, Impulse. Are the judges ready? Drum Major Luke Armstrong. Is Impulse ready? Impulse, you may take the field in DCI Division II competition. Costa Mesa, California, Impulse. Impulse hopes you've enjoyed their performance of a South Pacific Extravaganza. Staff includes Ron Zeilinger, the program coordinator, Dan Zeilinger, Scott Smith, David Campbell, Chuck Drinkworth, Victor Serrano, Vince Stewart on brass, Rich Hinshaw, Matt Ganier, Alice Hayes, Nancy LaPointe on percussion, Charlie Groh, Corky Keys, Mac Freed, Karen Gartner, Jared Huntley, Joe Miller, Mike Nash, Quincy Guillen, Kevin Sanders, John Schellenberger, and Richard Whitaker, visual and color guard. The core director is David Mead. And as they pass before you review, how about a big round of applause from Costa Mesa, California, Impulse.
Penalty. Penalty right here.
I'd kill all of you.
Wow, wow.
Every last one of you.
Love you, Nash.
Come in, kick you.
For the record, that sop, that wasn't me. That was Animal.
I know it was.
I was like I heard. I was just like.
I wasn't insinuating it was you, but you know.
Yeah, everybody thought it was me. I was like, that wasn't me. Even Fernie was like.
We know you couldn't hit those notes. You were always an octave higher than that.
They were hard. They would, Victor, and they would instigate stuff. They're like, you hit that.
Didn't we call Jaime Mr. G sharp and a half?
Flat on Sundays, most days.
All right, so here's the question. We just saw the show, so hopefully it brought a lot of people's memories. So this is for all the marching members, including you, Aaron. What did everybody do during the volcano visual when it was about to erupt? Like, personally for me, I just remember pretending like I was an earthquake, just duck and cover. That's all I did. What'd you all do?
Well, for me, I was channeling Family Guy. So there's this moment where he throws himself in the corner. ¿Por qué? So that was what I was going for.
I spun in a circle, dropped to the ground, and covered my butt with my mellophone.
And those were the two that were next to me. So I didn't do much. I just kind of let them do their thing. I just was like, hey, what's happening? I wish we had a clearer vision for this show.
I think I had just gotten, for the first time in my drum corps career, a third valve. So I hid behind my gigantic Contra.
DJ?
That's probably all you thought about all season. I have a third valve.
You have no clue.
I don't know what to do with it, but I have it.
Makes it heavy.
For me, I just had my mellophone on my head. I was like, wow, these people they're going all out. Some of them were.
And Jack?
I think I was just cowering, just like you. I don't know. I don't think it was very creative. It was just trying to rest in order to finish the show.
Yeah, I'm not gonna ask Omar and Gillian because, well, everybody saw what they were doing. The chief was chasing Gillian down over Wilson. So.
I'm gonna aim this at Derek as the assistant horn sergeant that year, and Mike Freed because and Mike Nash, basically our visual staff and our assistant horn sergeant. We had a lot of visuals and a lot of zoom-ins making fun of Vanguard that year. Does anyone remember who, why, or when we put those in?
Well, I think, remember the previous year we'd housed with them. We talked about that last week, right? We'd housed with Vanguard, I think, up in Washington or Oregon, and did the whole human chain making fun of their show when we traded run-throughs. And I think it just kept going.
Yeah, we just kept adding on as the season went.
Everyone was, the mellow section was more than happy to deal with whatever stupid ideas I came up with, and just said, hey, we're all, and politely I just kind of said, hey, we're all going to do this. And they were nice enough to be like, okay. And then we learned it and we put it in, and nobody ever, again, no one told us the rules or what we could or couldn't do. So we just kept it all.
I think there was a slight obsession from Derek with SCV, because I remember he even wrote the what was it, the 2000 show that we performed for Rookie Talent Show, and it was like he said there and we wrote it, and I think it was like 4 or 5 of us, so there was always something going on, but it was all in good fun, and but yeah, there was always something.
And we mentioned it before, was this the year that the Sin and the Snuffleupagus kind of came out?
Yes. Yes.
The song that we could never actually finish because we were laughing too hard. Yes, that was this year.
Oh man.
All right, next question. For Jaime and Derek, was this the accumulation year for the core?
By far, at least for me, it was out of all the 4 seasons that I marched, and I still marched 2 seasons after that, it was my favorite year. And there's just so many different highlights from this show, not just from actually even performing a show, but just being out and getting beat by the sun in rehearsals, and and the whole experience is, as a whole. 2001 is definitely, when I think of the years that I marched Impulse, that's the year that shines for me, and it's the most memorable one for me, and probably brought the most memories for me.
That was my age out year, so obviously memorable for me. At the beginning of the season, though, there were some, from what I remember as a member, as a stupid 21-year-old member, there were some brass staffing issues. So we didn't have like a consistent brass staff there for a while. So Brandon and I, started to do a lot of stuff. Then Yosuke and Rich and Raul and Aaron got in there too, and Chris, and we were all talking. And Brian Gallagher, before he wasn't able to march the rest of the year, we all got in there and we started to really kind of like bond all together. And so I felt like there was a real core of members that were, good musicians that really, really cared about stuff. And so we just kind of dragged everyone along with us, whether they wanted to be there or not.
All right, Aaron, I have a question for you, Aaron. You mentioned last week that you couldn't march 99 and 2000 for one reason or another. How did it feel going to this year, like finishing the show, and you actually did complete the entire season?
I don't remember feeling anything different than holding on for dear life, because that season was just, as everyone said, it rolled. It kept going. We were always off the bus, on the bus, this thing, that thing. Now we're on to this other thing. Traveling from state to state, always in a state of confusion. It was such a cool season. And it didn't hit me because I actually marched in 1998 with West Coast Sound, which was a California only tour. It didn't hit me that I was like completing an entire tour until right before, it was like the bus ride going into Buffalo, where I realized how far away we were, because most of the time I was just trying to sleep or practicing. So once we got into New York, I realized, wow, I actually just went on a full tour, and went through all of that, and it ended up being quite a special season. Like Derek just said, there was such a camaraderie in that group, especially with the metal section. There were a lot of shenanigans. There were a lot.
You had matching sunglasses, right? Didn't we bring those all in?
Yeah, some was it some fake Oakleys or something?
Oh yeah, man, they were super cheap. They were like $5.
Had like goggles on.
I had goggles, and I had to cut holes in the side because they kept fogging up.
I don't know. For me personally, I love the season. That was my first year, just like Omar. But I came in like in the middle when Ron came in and recruited, came to my high school and recruited us. But mentioned like the family that we kind of formed. But actually, I think it was Derek, the first person who like talked to me. It's like I just remember going to a camp, like eating, and Derek, like I'm sitting by myself, and Derek just goes, "Hey, you, come over here, stay with us." He's like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Raphael. I'm gonna call you Ninja Turtle from now on."
Oh yeah.
Okay. But I mean, like, personally, it's like aside from like Derek just like welcome me, come and make me feel like like part of the group. I also personally want to thank like Aaron, because like at the time I didn't drive at all, so we're rehearsing in Fountain Valley. So like my uncle, luckily my uncle like took me to rehearsals, but he worked at night, and Aaron just like gave me a ride back home, and that was pretty cool. At least,
yeah.
I love Aaron.
No, I just want to say something real quick. I mean, that was my rookie year. I came from a parade band. I had no idea what a dot was, what drill was. Sonia actually took the time, pulled me aside at Rubidoux High when we used to practice there. And she took me aside and she taught me what it was. She taught me counts. She taught me everything. I came clueless, but I knew that I wanted to do it. And no offense, Derek, but Derek was one of the biggest jerks to me. And, at the end, is when he started, I think it was his initiation, or I don't know, but at the end is when he like said, "Hey, what's up? How are you?" And I've always had a lot of respect for Derek, even though, he gave me a hard time, but I don't know, why he wanted to do it, but it was one of those, I'm not gonna say hazing or anything, but I mean, it's those initiations. I don't know. I was a rookie wannabe drum major, and I wanted to be in charge of people that've been in the Corps for 2-3 years, and it was really, really hard. But the family that we formed that year, it never happened again. Even the 2 years after, it wasn't the same. There was no Derek, there was no Brandon, there was no and other people. It was great, but it wasn't 2001 great. And it just Raul was a little too. I think it was a mellow thing. I don't know. Other than Aaron was always friendly, but Raul was this get away from me kind of thing. He was, and then yeah, I know. But then in 2002, and did you march 2003? Yes, right. You marched 2003.
No, I didn't.
2002, me and him would talk every day in 2002, so it was a whole different world. But I mean, I'm just glad that you guys were there with me. And by the way, I don't know if you guys knew, but I literally just ate peanut PB&J the whole tour because I didn't eat meat. Nobody knew. I was a vegetarian. Oh, I am a vegetarian. I don't eat meat or anything like that. I was literally on PB&J the entire time. And
weren't we all forced to only eat peanut butter and jelly?
Well, I mean, for other reasons.
That was my dessert.
You see? But I mean, I just want to thank all of you guys and the instructors as well. I mean, Charlie taught me how to line a field, and it was just a rough but amazing experience, because, just he wanted it perfect. And when we did the payment on Cerritos College, and then we got in trouble for it or something like that, or something, we used real paint instead of a water-based paint and all that stuff. So I mean, it was incredible. It was just an incredible 2001. By far is my favorite.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah, so this next question, I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to ask everyone what your favorite part specifically of the show was it for you. So we're going to start at the top of this roster and go with Dan Zeilinger. What was your favorite part of 2001 show?
I had to unmute there for a second. I think for me personally, it was believe it or not, it was the ballad, and that's because that's the only arrangement in the whole show that I did without any record drops. The rest of the show was actually albums or cuts off of albums that were given to me to chorize. So for me, it was the ballad.
DJ.
I would say the ending, just because that crowd, no matter where we are, they were just on their feet the whole time, and that just like motivates you to the end.
Chris.
The end of the closer from the mellow tenor feature, that was my favorite contra part. I can't tell you how many times over the years I still like finger that part just because I thought it was so cool. All the way through the tags, I think like that was the entire contra section got together. So closer from mellow tenor section out.
Charlie, what was your favorite part of this insanity?
All right, so I like the closer, just because, but I hated the feet, but I liked the closer. So that was that. And I got to say something about my boy, Raul. You were badass, man.
Raul was an amazing marcher. Raul was an amazing marcher.
Just starting to really get it that year. That was pretty good, that Genesis. And then there's Omar. And Omar, I'll never forget this. The first basics block you were at Cerritos. And yeah, the paint was not an issue on our field out there. It was an issue when I put that little grid on the inside and they got mad at me, but that's another thing. Our dot grid was great. But Omar, when I made you march the block and you got in there and you didn't know you couldn't find your with 2 hands and a flashlight.
That's it.
And dude, after that,
See, why am I getting all this hate?
No, wait until he finishes.
came out, you looked at me and your eyes were all like, he says, man, this is dope. And I go, you're right, man. Now you got to learn it. So there it is. And that was the coolest thing. And you were one of the few dudes I've ever taught that that embraced it as a drum major. Most drum majors want to go, drum major, I got to be off to the side and do this. You know, man, you were right there and you got into it.
I did marching blocks with the soprano. I remember.
I did. That was great. Kudos to you, pal.
Thank you.
Oh, but one more thing, and then you guys can have this. Aaron?
Yes?
I didn't give you this, and I should have.
Oh.
Legendary key.
Check this out. This says, wait a minute, let me get my glasses on. Utah's Desert Treasure, Green River, Utah, and that's the first time I ever read the fucking thing. It's been sitting in my house all the time. Oh, kid, look at this. So, Aaron, you're going to get this one of these days. I'll just drop it by. This will be yours.
That's fantastic.
Hey,
Thank you, Charlie.
I swear that place, I have big memories of that place too. So there it is. I loved '01. I just had the most fun, and me and Drinkworth drove that stupid truck all the way home, and we actually had fun. So
He was a great driver.
All right, next up, Mike Nash, your favorite part of the show.
I like the war chant.
Yeah, that was good.
The war chant. I love that war chant. Every time I heard it, that just got me going. But the closer, that was also a good part of the show.
All right, Jaime.
I think my favorite part of the show was definitely the last main drum solo, right into the closer. This energy right after that, it was like, it didn't feel like you were holding back through the whole first half of the show, but you gave everything you had, like from the closer all the way to the I really mean it. I mean, you just had to lay it out there, you know, and sometimes it was kind of hard making sure you didn't blow everything out by the time you were right at the end of the show, but definitely the closer was really something that was very memorable, and the energy, and you know, like Charlie said, the feet weren't perfect, but we were, and it was great. I've never, out of the 4 years that I marched, I think that was the most energized that you felt like marching a show.
That was the best.
There was something else.
Great tune.
All right, Mike Freed.
I'm just going to add on, same thing, the closer, that whole Hawaiian war chant, which I still, every time I hear that, like they play it at the Tiki Room at Disneyland. Every time I hear that, I still think of that show. And it was just so high energy. And yeah, I got to agree with Charlie on the feet, because it was fast. And every time I was like, all right, we're doing our, oh God. Okay, we're going really fast now. And we had people who had never marched at all before that year, or come from, you know, bands that never, you know, for them 120 beats a minute was fast. And we got to that, it was just like, oh. But, you know, when you kind of turn that off and listen to it, it's just a fun tune, and the energy level was...
Yeah, it was great.
It was almost like a different energy level than the whole rest of the show. Like the intro, like the beginning was good, but you get to that closer, and it was just knock your socks off. It was great.
And Dan, that chart was wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Derek.
I'll go fast through this. I remember rearranging the opening solo with Rich Perez, because what was written was just, it was out of my range, and we both thought it was dumb, so we just did what we wanted. And then I remember the war chant marching, and Raul and I were in the back of one of those lines, and no one in front of us ever moved fast enough, and we would just scream at people and be like, move, move. And then also, I remember this year going to INE and arranging a book with Rich Perez again, and putting that all together, and having a great time at INE, and representing Impulse as well as we possibly could.
You guys kicked the stands, didn't you?
We what?
You guys kicked the stands at the end, didn't you?
Probably.
All right, next up, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo a lot of other people said that closer was super cool. I do remember an anecdote that maybe Charlie, I think you pulled Yosuke aside at one point during the closer. Was it like 210 beats min or whatever? Baritones are playing long notes, and you could hear the feet in the sound. It was like, da, na, 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 da, da, da. And then I think Charlie, you asked Yosuke, like, can you fix that? And it was like, I don't think we can do it. So I mean, I can, Charlie, I definitely empathize with you watching from the end zone, you know, looking from the side at us and just going, man, with those feet. But it was a lot of fun.
Forgot about one of my favorite memories. Didn't we do a bus war, Patrick?
Well, you did a bus war. I did a skipping, like, oh man, this bus war, this is cool. I like all these guys. And then you had your eyes on the prize. And
so sorry. I'm sorry to Omar, and sorry to you. Sorry to everybody. I apologize, everybody. I don't know who that was.
you did your job. I was just
Oh, I mean, yeah.
just walking into it.
He was the horse sergeant. I mean, yeah.
All right, Raul, your favorite part of the show?
Well, there's already been a lot of love for the drill and the closer, so I will go with the mellow section, the mellow part in the ballad, Tiny Bubbles. We turn around and we're not facing the field, so you don't hear us as well, but the mellophones just have a gorgeous part. And there's been a lot of talk about the mellow section. We were all nerds, so we were just very into this whole getting it as perfect as possible, and no one could hear it except we really loved it. So that's, for me, nerding out on ballad music is amazing.
All right, next up, Kyle.
Well, I'm a percussionist, so my favorite part of the show was the drum features. So much talent on that line that year. It was incredible, just spending the little amount of time I had with the corps. I mean, I was watching those dudes play things I never even occurred to me that you could do. And just all the crazy modulations that they were doing, and the morphing of the notes, and doing turning Swiss Army triplets into alternating flams and things like that. It was like, whoa, this is really crazy. And I mean, the stuff on the field was amazing, but then putzing around with the guys, you know, at the gym or on the bus or wherever we were, was just so much. It opened my mind so much to the things that you could do. And Rich Crenshaw, I know he's not here, but man, that guy was awesome. He knew so much.
And as the last one on this list, my favorite memory, we were actually chatting about it while the show was running, was there was one set for me and Derek after the mellow feature that I want to say it was like 25 or 30 yards that we had to go in 16 counts. And I remember going, how are we going to do this? And Derek's much taller than me. And I can't remember which staff member it was, but I distinctly remember the phrase, figure it out. And then we did. And we weren't allowed to jazz run. So it was running, but not. It was ridiculous. And then after that, we had to go directly backwards, and we were at the front of that V. So that set was insane.
Raph, no one asked you, what was your favorite part?
I would say the ending, and it's just, for me, it was finishing the show, and it was the crowd reaction at the end at every single show. I mean, not at one show, but every single show, their reaction to our show, that was just amazing. But yeah, so that was my favorite part of the entire show. I will say this: two things I will never forget from rehearsals on that year. And I'm going to put Jaime and Derek on the spot right now. One was Jaime during a rehearsal. This was in Buffalo. You're marching your set, and you tripped over something, and you rolled, but you rolled into your next dot.
Yeah. I remember going down, and as soon as I was going to go down, it's like my horn, but I rolled and tugged my horn into my body and got back up right into my spot, right into my dot. And I think we kept going. I don't know if we stopped or what, but there was, I think, a hole. I don't remember what it was, but definitely rolled. Nothing happened to my horn and got back up right into my dot.
And Derek, I just remember the one thing I remember about you is one of the rehearsals, is early on. The Sopranos, at the end of rehearsal, got together. They did the little soprano creed that they had, and you decided to like run through them. So as soon as they were done, I just remember hearing somebody shout. I turn around, I see Derek running, and the entire stop line just chasing him down.
Yeah, he messed with our soprano prayer. I remember that.
It looked dumb. I was like, what are they doing?
That's because the mellows had nothing cool like it, so you know.
Oh yeah,
Had to
that must
try
have
to
been.
do
Except all the melodies. You're right.
So one last question, and this goes for the age outs. Oh, actually the age out in this case. How emotional was that show for you at the end? And this is Derek.
Oh, it was fun. It was a fun show. I didn't do that much drum corps, just about a year and a half really. And so it was another show, and it was fun and cool. And then the age out circle, I remember that was pretty fun, and all the mellows goofing around with all the different parts in there. But it was super fun. And like I said before, just all the friendships that I forged over the years, and seeing the people that I haven't seen here in a bunch of years. I still run into some of you guys haphazardly through the year at different, marching band stuff or music director stuff. But it was just fun.
All right, for everyone that tuned in, this was the Impulse Drum and Bugle Corps watch party for the year 2001 Island Extravaganza. This entire panel has been sharing their memories. We are doing this every week, Saturdays at 6 p.m. Next week will be the year 2002. We have a t-shirt campaign that we are currently selling in order to keep ourselves going during COVID. We are accepting donations on our website. And on Monday, we will be releasing some brand new news that Impulse Youth Arts is launching a new service. So make sure to watch our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and our webpage for more information about that. Thank you all very much for attending. It's been a blast seeing all of you. And for all the alumni that are tuning in, as well as the people on here, we will make sure to email out to you information on this after party that we are currently crafting. So thank you all very, very much, and have a wonderful day.